Hello viewers, welcome to the second video in my series on restoring my 1959 Levin 320. If you haven't seen the first video, I recommend you go back and watch that one first. I'll put a link in the description. Here I just talk about how I've taken the guitar apart and inspected it and got ready to do the major work. Upon removal of that very crusty pickguard, I found that it had done some very serious corrosive damage underneath to the actual pickup itself and pickup mounting, and as you can see, the fret ends around where the pickguard was. Whoever installed that pickup had put a little bit of extra wood underneath the fingerboard extension to give the pickup mounting a second screw hole to connect to. And it turns out that this extra piece of wood was actually glued in place, and it was firmly wedged between the top of the guitar and the fingerboard extension. So even though it was glued in place, it didn't take a lot of work to remove it. It came off reasonably cleanly, just in a few little pieces. However, having had that piece of wood wedged in underneath the fingerboard extension for however long, maybe decades, we don't know when that pickup was installed, it has done some, well, maybe permanent damage to the fingerboard extension. And as you can see in this photo, it had sort of wedged under the treble side of the fingerboard extension a little bit more than the bass side, pushing that side of the fingerboard up. And here in this video, I'll just show you how much flex there is now actually in the fingerboard extension. Maybe the glue in all the joints has dried out, but yes, having that wedge of wood underneath, pushing it up, certainly hasn't done any long-term good. This photo is just to show you that the fingerboard extension is in fact clear of the top of the guitar all the way from the neck joint. So there is light showing between the extension and the top of the guitar there. Now let me show you what's happened to the neck relief after having removed the pickup that was pushing up the end of the fingerboard extension. I'll just get a short ruler which goes from the 1st fret to the 13th, 14th fret, just where the body joins on. And as you can see, there is a tiny little bit of relief in the neck. Not very much, but probably just the ideal amount actually. Now if I get a longer ruler, this ruler goes all the way past the fingerboard extension. You can see that there's quite a lot more neck relief in there. So the fingerboard extension is still, having removed the pickup, it is still pushing up the end of the neck a little bit. Okay, now that everything's been removed, the pickup's been removed, the strings have been removed, and that wedge of wood underneath the fingerboard extension has been removed, what we can see here is that some permanent damage has been done as how it's pushed up the end of the fingerboard, mainly on the edges, to the point that the end fret is actually concave. It's like there's a negative fingerboard radius. Now, I'm not 100% convinced yet whether I will need to take the neck off to repair this guitar, but if I do, then here's a much clearer shot. Now that I've removed the tailpiece, we can see through the hole in the tail block, the access hole. We can see the two bolts that bolt the neck on. We can see that they are in fact a 5mm square in a round headed bolt. And the other things we can see in this photograph is the parallel base bracing. We can just see the label on the back there, and there's even a little fluff bunny inside the guitar. If I do have to remove the neck, I do not possess a tool to do so, and my local hardware store didn't sell any tool that would do the job, so I had to make one. So I bought a length of 8mm threaded rod, and in the end of it I have ground a 5mm square section, and on the other end 2 locked nuts will drive it if I just put a spanner on the end of those. So I've tested this, it does fit in the square hole in those bolts, and it does take up firm action. I haven't actually tried removing one of the bolts yet because, as I said, I'm not 100% sure yet whether I want to remove the neck or will need to remove the neck to repair it. It's quite likely, so I do now have the tool to do so if that eventuates. Now, a little bit of progress that has begun is I've started working on making the replacement pickguard. First thing I did was just photocopy the original pickguard so that I had a paper template. And from that template, I have then made the new center section out of a new piece of celluloid. Well, it's actually acrylic, celluloid looking, matching to match the original celluloid. My original thought was I was going to use the original binding and put it on the new pickguard just for the sake of originality. But other advice I have been told is to keep the original pickguard intact as it is, even though it's broken and corroded and degassed and falling apart. It's better to keep the original pickguard together just for the sake of originality and rebound the new pickguard in matching cream and black triple layered binding. So maybe somebody else here has got some thoughts on that, whether I should use the original binding on the new pickguard or whether I should make an entirely new pickguard. Now, as I've been pulling the guitar apart and preparing to restore it, I've been inspecting it even closer, and I found that this crack in the top, which is coming off the bass side bout F-hole, there's a little bit of movement in this crack, so I will be putting a splint on the back. I'm not sure if I need to splice a tiny piece of wood into the top in that bigger piece of the crack there, or whether it's best just to leave it. I'm tempted just to leave it. Splicing a piece of wood would then mean having to refinish it and trying to match it. It's probably best just to leave it, and the guitar's got plenty of patina anyway. But yes, I will be putting a splint on the back of this crack to stop it getting any worse. I haven't made a lot of progress regarding thinking about how I'm going to fix the guitar's biggest problem, which is this shrinkage of the maple strip down the middle of the back of the neck. Somebody has attempted to repair this in the past, and they've poured some glue into that joint, and it's very solid. There's no movement in there. So whether I need to try and remove the glue, de-glue it, steam the glue out or something, or whether the simplest fix is just to simply shave it down and refinish the back of the neck. I'm not convinced that that's the best way to fix it, because if it's shrunk that much, maybe it's going to continue to shrink. Maybe somebody out there has got some advice, but at the moment, yes, I haven't actually thought about how to solve the guitar's biggest problem. One thing I have been able to ascertain is that the truss rod is fine, it turns freely, and it does have an effect on the neck relief. So once again, thanks for watching. Today was just a short update on where the guitar is at and the progress that I've made or not made, the things that I've discovered. So yes, I will keep you updated as to what happens next. And if anyone has any advice or any thoughts, please leave them in the comments below.